Hello, Steve. I want to talk about a conversation that changed everything for you, and so please just tell me who you are and what it was.
So I'm Steve Chapman. I'm a consultant, I think, on changing creativity. Basically, my job title is Chief Adventurer at Can Scorpion Smoke.
Thank you.
That's what I'm interested in. But I wasn't always. I was always interested in this stuff, but I never thought I could do this stuff. So a conversation that changed everything for me was when I used to work for a big pharmaceutical company, GlaxoSmithKline, and I was doing okay there, having left school with no qualifications. I was quite glad to get a management position. And one day my manager came up and said, I want you to come and run a laboratory. And I thought, oh my God, I was terrible at chemistry at school. So I said to her, why? I don't know anything about this stuff. Everyone in the laboratory is like a PhD. And she said, because I think you're great with people. And I thought, oh, really? You'd put me in a senior position just because of that? And she said, yeah, for a couple of years, there's problems there, can you sort it out? And that conversation, her confidence in me, having seen me do stuff in the past that was just instinctive for me, made a huge difference. And it changed everything, because I went into this 2-year assignment. First thing that anyone asked me, all the people that worked for me, was, what's your PhD in? Which immediately got me anxious. But over those 2 years, because I've been given that permission and that affirmation, that this seemed to be something I was good at, I just did it. And it was the best job that I've ever done, I think, those 2 years. And I left when it got to a place of order and stability and performance, and a scientist took over. But from that point on, that conversation with Orla, I'll name her, an Irish lady called Orla, crystallised what it was that I was both good at, what excited me, and what I was interested in.
Did she say what she'd seen in you?
She said she'd seen me work in a number of different areas, and they were always dysfunctional areas that I'd gone into, that something had shifted. The types of conversation had shifted, the way people got on had shifted. And I don't think she knew the stress that I went through in those situations, thinking, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do here. So I was making it up as I went along, in search of some magic management journal. But she'd just seen that. She didn't question how I'd done it. She'd just seen that and had a sense, and said, I'd like you to do that again. The danger of saying that was then I thought, well, now I've got to replicate what I've done in the past, and I could have become a bit formulaic, but luckily I just continued to make it up as I went along.
But part of the conversation being successful, part of the conversation being successful was that you were willing to accept what she was offering and saying to you. Why were you ready to do that, and how did that make it important?
Yeah, I think you're right, because I could have easily explained away, oh no, that was just because of blah, blah, blah. It was because I had a trusting relationship with her. I knew she wouldn't stitch me up. I respected her. She'd been my manager previously. And so it's the honesty and there was just that relationship between us made me say yes. I think if anyone else had said it at that time, I probably would have said no. Or I probably would have said yes and then really doubted myself. So it was that moment in my life with that person at their moment in their life is what made it happen. And I can remember the office that we were in, I can remember the chairs we were in, I remember the glass wall, I can remember everything about that conversation. Still very vivid for me.
How often would you imagine that you remember that conversation?
It took a while to come to me here. I don't think I recall it often unless I'm telling my story. If I'm telling my story of how I come to be doing what I'm doing now, which is by no stretch of the imagination a normal job, that is always one of the milestones in the story. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. That's the point where the wolf goes into the bedroom. That conversation always features in my story. I don't think of it a lot unless I'm thinking of or telling my story.
Thank you. And just one last question. Does she know about this?
She does, but she never accepts it. I haven't seen her for years. She left the organisation. I've now left the organisation. And I used to say to her, when I bumped into her, she'd say, oh, you're doing really well. And I say, well, you know the role that you've played in that, don't you? From that job you gave me then. And she'd go, oh, be gone with you. In a slightly better Irish accent than that. So she knows, but she was very modest about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.